What's up, everybody? Welcome to Final Fantasy Entertainment and Podcast Network. I am your host, the Warrior of Hype, and joined with me in the party as a permanent party member is the Firaga Fighter. What's up, Vinny?
How's it going?
Oh man, I'm doing all right, Vinny. Let me tell you why. Because let me move this camera for a second. I have it over on the other side. It was bothering me, so I'm gonna fix it right here. I'm doing pretty good, man. This is going to be the first time we've ever just gonna kind of wing it here. All right, we don't have anything prepared. We're just gonna talk about some Final Fantasy stuff. The only thing that we do have prepared for today is the guests announcements for Wheel of Final Fantasy. Now, if you're new to the channel and you have not heard us announce this before, Wheel of Final Fantasy is going to be our game show that's going to premiere on February 1st at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's going to be every Tuesday, and we're going to have 3 guests on to play a game of basically Wheel of Fortune, but with a Final Fantasy twist. It's going to be a lot of fun. I've been working real hard on this one, Vinny, and I'm excited to bounce ideas off of you, and then that way we can really balance this thing out. So that way, when it comes down to February 1st, it's not going to be just an awkward moment where this was extremely easy or this was extremely difficult. I want to make sure it's nice and balanced. It's going to be a lot of fun. So think Wheel of Fortune with that Final Fantasy twist. It's going to feel like an adventure. It's going to feel like a quest. I'm excited. Wait, I can't hear you. I cannot hear you, Vinny. Okay, anyway. So, going on from there, I would like to announce the 3 guests that are going to be on the show. I'll just go ahead and do that right now. I'm really excited about this. The first person to want to be on the show, and immediately when I asked him, I sent him a message on Twitter. I said, hey, would you be interested in this? And immediately, just right away, a big yes. It was just a yes right away. And that is Baby Seal. Schrodinger Baby Seal will be a guest on the Wheel of Final Fantasy. I'm really excited about this one. It's going to be... Come on, man. What's the next person? Who's the next person? Who is the next person, Vinny? Let me tell you right now.
Hey, wait, is my... Okay, it
Yeah,
looks
you're
like my
back.
mic is working again. Okay.
Yes. Okay, good, great. I'm just stalling. I wasn't planning on announcing them this early, but hey, let's go, man. Philip Hartshorn will be the next guest, contestant number 2 on the Wheel of Final Fantasy. So right now we have Philip Hartshorn, Schrodinger's Baby Seal, and then, to top it all off, the voice of Roach from Final Fantasy VII, Austin Lee Matthews, will be on the show. Talk about, this is just going to be a high energy, really fun, and exciting premiere of Wheel of Final Fantasy. So, once again, Baby Seal, Austin Lee Matthews, and Philip Hartshorn. There we go. Let me bring them down. What do you think, Vinny?
I think that's an all-star team for the very first Wheel of Fortune.
Yes.
And I'm happy to be behind the scenes on that. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Vinny, you will be our personal Vanny White.
That's right.
Vanny White will be there.
I'm going to be practicing my poses all month. Just...
Oh man, if you're an audio listener, we're doing our best Vanna White impersonations right now.
Do we have many of those?
What's that? Do audio listeners? I think they're out there. If you
we
are an
still
audio
on Spotify?
listener, we are, and I do want to make it a very I'll make that apology right now. I haven't been keeping up with it, man. In fact, just last week I posted 2 episodes back to back on the same day. I will say that with 2022. We'll make sure that they go up at least the night of the podcast, or they'll go up the next day. So, dude, I'm really excited about that. Once again, Vinny, that's Wheel of Fortune with a Final Fantasy twist. So, yeah, man, it's gonna feel like an adventure. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Now, going on to the podcast part of this of this podcast.
Hmm.
We're winging it, man. I got no notes. We're just doing it. Later on, I do want you guys to make us choose between two Final Fantasy things. I mean, this could be anything. It could be anything at all. Just make us choose between two Final Fantasy related things, and we'll do it right here on the spot. All right, and we have two Twitter comments to answer. So, Vinny, we got
Yes.
some pretty exciting news throughout the week for Final Fantasy, and I would like to share some of those newsworthy things. Starting
All right.
with, starting with, Final Fantasy 14 is finally going back on sale. February, or not? Whoa, excuse me. I'm so sorry. January 25th. So, what are your thoughts on that, man? Are you excited about like Final Fantasy 14? I know you were actually going to play it. You were going to start from the beginning, A Realm Reborn, and then all of this stuff happened with it being super popular. They had to shut down servers, and now I actually would like to read this quote so that way everybody has a good perspective of what we're
Sure.
talking about here. This
Can we
is
just thank Downstorm real quick for gifting two tier one subs?
Downstorm, thank you so much. Awesome. Thanks for pointing that out, Vinny. All right, so we got this is from coming from GameSpot's Darren Bonthius reports. Quote, global server capacity is being expanded with an oceanic data center opening up on January 25th, while North American and European data centers will be expanded across multiple phases. This will take time, though, as Yoshida explained that the global semiconductor shortage made procuring more server equipment challenging. Currently, Square Enix's plan will see new data center in Japan. A new data center in Japan opened in July 2022. Europe's expansion will start in July as well, and a two-phase expansion for American regions will commence from August 2022. So that's end quote. So that's sounds like they're not just opening up sales again. They're actually going to be making some expansions to the servers, which is really necessary at this point because of the popularity of this game. Now, Vinny, you
Mhm.
are one of those people who want to jump in to Final Fantasy 14. So are you excited
Right.
about this news?
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky enough to restart because I had a very rough go with trying to recollect my character's information because I started off on PS4 and bought the Realm Reborn skip and the level skip to level 70 on my White Mage. Played it for a little bit, then I didn't touch it for a very long time, and then I went to go do all like get everything ported over to my PC, and I just ran into this loop where it was like it said my password was incorrect, so I changed my password, and then when I changed my password, it wanted me to get a password key, and then every time I tried to get a password key, it said I needed to put in my password that I changed, and I changed my password, and then it said that it was an incorrect password. I was just stuck in this loop. So, um, I ended up just saying like screw it, and I bought A Realm Reborn over again. I bought uh and a new subscription, and then so I started playing A Realm Reborn, and then I think like maybe 4 days after I bought A Realm Reborn, they took it off the server. So I was actually able to get A Realm Reborn, and I've been playing it here and there, but my girlfriend wants to start playing with her sister, so she's gonna be able to actually, get A Realm Reborn now. One thing I noticed when I was trying to create a new character was that I wasn't able to create a new character in a world that was full. So I needed to wait for a world to open up. And I noticed that the North American and the Europe servers were always full. And then if I wanted to make a character on Japan, all of Japan servers were full, were open. So it's actually a little surprising to hear that they're going to work on the Japan servers first when it doesn't seem like they had too much of an issue. Europe and North America, I could not get into. Japan, if I wanted to, I could have made a server in that. So I think it's good news that they're going to be opening it back up again, but I wonder if it's going to crash the servers again,
Hmm.
like everybody flooding into it. all at once again. So
Well, yeah, that's going to be the other thing. They did say something about that later on, and I'm not quoting here, but they did say something like, I mean, if this happens, if it, we see the influx again, it's going to, we might have to take the same measures to like kind of
we have
shut things down a little bit.
Legions subscribed for 4 months.
Legions, thank you so much for that. Wow,
Thank you,
you
Legions.
guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. So once again, we're going to make you guys, or we're not going to make you do it. You're going to make us choose between two different Final Fantasy things, and we'll do it right here on the spot. So go ahead and prepare those for us, and we'll do it. Now, other than that, Vinny, you can see our sweet background right now that we have for Final Podcast this week. It is the Stranger
Looks,
of
familiar.
Paradise. Yeah, right. It looks very familiar, right? It looks, oh man. So this is Stranger of Paradise, and it's got this super sweet art. Now you've probably seen this a few months ago, or maybe a few weeks ago, and you're just like, oh yeah, of course. But they've actually announced this is going to be a steel book case for pre-order. I mean, that's pretty freaking awesome, right, Vinny? Like, here, hold on. I have my Ultimania book, and I kind of want to show what the this art is based off of, right? So you kind of have this a similar vibe, right? That's really cool, man. It's just I'm really stoked about that steelbook.
I usually I'm the type of person where I get a digital download. Like I usually just hop on Microsoft Store or Steam and I just digitally download it. But I feel like I'm gonna get the steelbook, even if I don't play a physical copy of it. I think I'm just gonna get the steelbook for the collector's feel of it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that steelbook it's so nice. So there's a lot of hype over here on Final Fan TV for Stranger of Paradise. Like this is once again Vinny being a Soulsborne fanatic, being Final Fantasy fanatic. This is like a marriage in heaven for this guy. So I'm really excited.
I was playing Dark Souls at work last night. I'm trying to prepare for Elden Ring and Stranger of Paradise.
Yes, and maybe even doing a stream there to show that like you're preparing for Stranger of Paradise by playing Soulsborne stuff. Thank you so much. Round 2 Gaming, welcome to the Final Fantasy Entertainment Podcast Network. So here's what we're gonna do, Vinny. The first thing, the first response that we got from make us choose two things. All right, so they're gonna make us choose between two Final Fantasy things. We got to do it on the spot. All right, the first one was actually I want to get the username because I want to make sure that they get credited for it. It was make us choose between Cait Sith and Quina. So I'm going to let you go ahead and go there. Let me get the username. That was from Jordan at XJAWDSX. So thank you for writing in there. So best chonky character, Cait Sith or Quina?
I'm gonna go with Quina.
Going Quina. Okay, now do we want to do it as you have to? You kind of have to give us a little bit of a reason why.
So I'm going with Quina because Kate, she just didn't like.
Oh, we're going official names. I'm sorry, my bad.
I'm gonna fluctuate back and forth just because if you say it always, you can't be wrong.
Right, I was just gonna go with Cait Sith always because that's what I've been calling it.
I know that's when I read it for the first time in 1998, I was like, Cait Sith.
Cait Sith. That's a Cait Sith right there.
But there's one moment in Final Fantasy VII that always just had me was when Cait Sith sacrificed himself at the Temple of the Ancients. And it's supposed to be like this strong emotional moment, and then he just comes right back and he's like, hey, I'm a different Cait Sith, I have my own different type of personality. It's like, you're controlled by the same guy.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
I know that this is a sacrifice moment, and it's
Right.
And then
You know
not
that
only that, but it like basically follows when he literally gives away the black materia. It's just like, dude, really, like,
yeah,
you're not likable.
right.
Um,
And
yeah. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
so Quina, I really like blue mages. Like one of my favorite characters from 6 was the Wild Thornberries dude, the crazy kid.
The wild horn.
Um, but I like blue mages, and Quina seems like she would be able to cook
Oh
very,
yeah.
very well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Kate, she it he got so Kate Sith got bonus points for me when I found out he had an Irish accent
Yeah.
or like Scottish accent,
Uh huh.
whichever accent that is, and I was like, all right, this adds a little more flavor to his character. You know, going back and playing Final Fantasy VII original, I
Mm-hmm.
always impose that.
Now
Um,
you hear it. Now you hear it.
yeah,
And that it
but
is actually written that way too. It feels like because
mhm,
I never read it that way, but now that you hear it in your head and you read it, you can tell that they tried to add like the pronunciation effects
mhm,
to the typing. Yeah, yeah.
right. So he got a little bonus points, but I'm still gonna go with Quina and that
Mm-hmm.
wedding, the wedding scene that was very touching.
Yeah.
A lot of her personality came through
All right.
on that.
So Quina. See, this is the interesting thing because I want to start with Kate Sith. I'm gonna call it Kate Sith. That way you get both sides of the spectrum here. With Kate Sith, right? I feel like there's a story there. I feel like there's something there that needs to be told, and it can be told effectively and very well, right? I think the character is more interesting than Quina, right? So I
Mhm,
think Kate Sith is more interesting than Quina, and can be told a really good story, right? And
mhm,
remake has the opportunity to do this. But if we're going off of what we got, Kate Sith always got on my nerves in Final Fantasy VII. Like I because when he just gives away the black materia, like has this weird sacrifice thing. But there's something there, that undercover Shinra. You know what I mean? Like there this morality between like working with the enemy to find out that they're actually good people. Like there's something there. With Quina, listen, there's only two things in this world. Things you can eat and things you can no eat. All right, and that is the essence of Quina, right? Like,
mhm,
but as you said, there are some touching moments where you can see that Quina actually cares, right?
mhm.
So, it's so hard to go against Final Fantasy VII, but this is not the game. I can't do it. I'm going Quina. I'm going Quina.
Hmm.
I can't, you know what I mean? It's not Final Fantasy VII versus 9. It's freaking Kate Sith versus Quina. Going Quina. All right. So then we had one from No Way on Twitter. No Way says, let me make sure. Oh, that's right. No, I didn't clarify. But if No Way you're in the chat, make sure you clarify on this one. Um, we're talking. He says, No Way says. Let me make sure I get the actual quote here. He wants us to choose between like imagine. Let me go. All right. No Way says imagine Final Fantasy VII remake and Final Fantasy 16 come out at the same time. Which do you play first? Now, what I wanted clarification on was are you saying like are we imagining Final Fantasy VII remake part 2 and 16 come out at the same time, or are we talking about it's 2020 again, April 10th, Final Fantasy VII remake is coming out and Final Fantasy 16 is coming out? Which do I play first? You know what I mean?
Part two. He said, part two,
Part
seven
2.
remake, part two.
Okay. So with I can answer this one. I can answer this one
Okay.
truthfully. It's Final Fantasy VII remake for me, part 2. As much as I'm hyped for 16, I don't have the attachment like I do with Final Fantasy VII remake. Obviously, I've played remake. I need to know what's going to happen next. I need to know like if information is available, I'm grabbing it and I'm digesting that. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
There's that Quina reference again. But I'm gonna. I it's got to be part 2. It's got to be part 2 for me.
Um, that's a tough one because I'm really like weighing the options on the spot here, and it's
Hmm.
like 16 is like fresh, it's new, it's been anticipated. I want to know. I feel like if I were to choose 16, it would solely be to have my questions answered. Like, is there is there a team-based party? Is it going to be more, is it going to be like Final Fantasy 15's party? Um, is it going to be more like I want to see if it gets that like M rating, like what they're going to do with that. But
Hmm.
then with remake part 2, it's like I want to see where they push this story. I want to, it's very difficult.
It's a tough one,
I
man.
I feel like
Okay.
I'm leaning towards remake part 2,
Hmm.
but Final Fantasy 16 has the atmosphere that I love from Final Fantasies, the medieval
Mm,
gothic horror type,
that's right.
like.
Vinny, I want to talk to you about like that one day on a podcast. Let's set that up
Mm,
because I feel like, and this is kind of going off a little bit, even though somebody
mm,
could literally make us choose between two right now. But like, maybe we'll save it for another time because I feel like there's a whole conversation here. Like in the grand spectrum of things, I was looking at my Final Fantasy rankings, right, ranking the main line, and I was
mm,
like, wow, there is a very like imaginary line or something between two distinct Final Fantasy like not genres but world settings or something. You have
atmospheres.
yeah, atmospheres. Thank you. Like there's that imaginary line that like that separates them. You have your steampunk or you have like this realistic fantasy type stuff, and then you have your medieval high fantasy stuff. You know what I mean? I
Mm,
feel like there's obviously there's a lot of differences in every single Final Fantasy, but if you break it down, it feels like there's two distinct ones, and I have to analyze it further before I can comment on it because I want to make sure like I pinpoint what is it. This is a question that I ask myself a lot, and I ask myself this question when I see tier rankings, and I've seen tier rankings going around for Final Fantasy. It's what makes
mm.
Final Fantasy. That's a
I,
question that I think we could talk about for a long time.
and and I feel like the answer to that question is why Final Fantasy 13 didn't hit on me as much
Mm.
as the other ones did, because I feel like 13 takes it so far futuristic that
Mm.
like it's still a Final Fantasy, but like I feel like 7 and 10 were just, modern enough, but still had those elements of, um, like 7 has Midgar and other cities, but it also has, um, Wutai and some
Yeah.
dungeons and caves that made it feel just kind of not medieval, but not, you're not in the future. You feel like you're either in present day
Yeah,
or
they kind of
you
like
feel like you're
they
in the
straddle
90s.
that line a little bit more
Mhm.
than others, but yeah, I mean, but then it's so crazy because I see lists and you see Final Fantasy 13 on really high up on the list. When
Mhm.
we make ours, and I don't think we're gonna ever do like, hey, these are the best Final Fantasies. If we do, then it would have to be from a like stepping out of our astral form, or like going into our astral form and looking at it from a
Mhm.
grand spectrum. Because I think my list it would not rub right on people. Like people are not going to really like my list, the way I rake
I,
it.
you already, my top three goes 10, 7, and 6.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we all know that Final Fantasy VII's mine, so like that
Yeah.
stuff is not going to be a surprise to anybody. But ranking the entire main line, that's when people are going to be like, really? Which
Mhm.
is, I think it's great because everybody has that. Oh man, it's so great to see Adriel in here. Like I'm
Mhm.
not gonna lie. When I was doing my I said I gotta go to the bathroom real quick, man. My hair was going like that going out of the back, and I said if Adriel does like one of those little cool, cute little chibi things of us, she's gonna have to put that big puff of hair in the back, and I'm like I gotta put that down. I gotta put that down, and that's me asking live on air for that one piece because I think it's so.
It-
I
it-
think there's. I think they're so awesome, man.
So I
All right.
I showed
Yeah.
yesterday I showed one of my firefighter buddies one of our episodes and everything,
Hmm.
and he was just like watching it real quick, and he goes, "You two look exactly alike."
With the beard.
Yep. He was just like, it looks like it looks like you're talking to yourself, like it's like you're doing
You're
like
just
a double
like,
cut. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, if somebody were to ever make like, an animated thing, it would just look like the same person.
yeah.
Just,
Oh man, good luck with that. So we got we got another response just recently. Let me go back to Twitter. Another making us choose. Let me go back. I know what the question is, but okay, this is coming from, oh nice. Good to see you, Sky Serpent. So at Sky Serpent 14. Just an amazing artist, by the way. Final Fantasy 14 question here. Miqo'te versus Vieira. Now, I am so sorry if I pronounce that wrong because, listen, I do not know how to pronounce it. It's the cat people. The cat people.
mm,
Miqo'te? Miqo'te? I know they say it during the game. I know they say it, right? Somebody says it.
mm.
What is it, guys? Spell it out for me. Miqo'te? Miqo'te versus Vieira, bro. Is it cat people versus bunny people?
That no way that spelling doesn't help me.
I think he was giving his
It's like
answer. He's like, I
Mikote.
think he's giving his answer. Miqo'te,
Okay.
yeah. He's
I
like,
thought he was
it's like when
like,
somebody commented one time. I was like, look, how do you pronounce Firaga Fighter or Firaga Fighter, whatever, right? And I had like so many different ways to pronounce it. And they said somebody literally wrote in the comments, I pronounce it Fire, like literally wrote it out.
mhm.
And I was like, but how do you pronounce? like I don't know. I'm reading it. Anyways, all right. So go ahead. What are you going to go with? Bunny people or cat people? Hmm.
So I'm a cat person
Mm.
in Final Fantasy 14, but I'm definitely gonna have to go with bunny people, the Vera.
Ooh.
Mhm.
Are you like regretting your choice for your Final
Uh,
Fantasy 14 character?
no. My white mage is a Vera, and my tank is a
Oh,
Miqo'te.
look at that. So
Miqo'te.
you got best of
Miqo'te.
both worlds there. Okay.
But the Vera from I mean this was imposed from Final Fantasy 12 when I played it for the first time. I was just like,
Oh,
Fran is really cool.
oh yeah. Fran's really
Oh,
cool, and the opposite of cool too.
oh.
All right, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Miqo'te. So I
Miqo'te.
was saying it right.
Okay.
All right, cool. Thank you. Hey, nobody. But yeah, so Miqo'te for you, or no? You said Miqo'te.
I'm no, I said Vera.
I'm sorry. I thought you said you were a cat. I missed the whole thing, bro. I didn't. You know, all right,
But
for me, I'm going Vieira, man. You know what I mean?
mhm.
Ah, wait a second though. Yasholta. It's a Yasholta versus Fran right now. Good
Yeah, I'm
lord.
going with Fran.
That's how you really break this down.
Yeah.
Like it's not a Miqo'te versus Vieira. It's Yasholta versus Fran. Ooh, I'm having a internal struggle right now.
Because Fran is the main character of Final Fantasy 12, so I
I
think
mean,
that's just pretty cool.
Sky Serpent yes, Sky Serpent is here. We're answering your question right now. I changed from Miqo'te to be a bunny boy, so I was wondering. Oh, okay. Because the
And
male Viera are there now. You know, like they got the
yeah,
male Viera.
Male Vieira is new with
Mm-hmm.
the Endwalker,
Yeah,
or was it? Yeah,
with
it was,
the
right?
monkey. Yeah. So that's
Because
interesting.
and then the female
Huh,
they
okay,
added a
so
female.
I don't like Gara or whatever Garara Gara. God, I can't.
Is that like the orc looking
No.
guys?
I don't know if you haven't even gotten there yet because you just started
No.
Realm Reborn. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm a
Um.
normie.
So, I'm going with the with the Miqo'te on this one. I'm doing it, bro. I'm going cat people. All right, that was a good question because you really had me tripped up here. You had me really tripped up. I don't know. I'm going to go with Miqo'te just for the sake of this one. All right, just for the because I mean, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? It's your
I,
shelter. All right, so let's go with another question. I think we had one in there, right? So somebody else have a question? Make us choose between two different things, guys. Make us choose between two different Final Fantasy things. We'll do them right here on the spot. We're just gonna have some fun with it. Make it like anything at all. Anything at all. Anything Final Fantasy related at all. You know what I mean?
let me see if I can think of one to trip you up.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. And then we got like a little bit more of a serious topic to kind of talk about, just to briefly talk about a little bit, because I do want to. It's been a hot topic for our channel for a bit. I'll steal Baby Seal's question: Terrier or Beagle in Calm? I didn't answer this question on purpose. No way. Like I saw it on Twitter. I didn't answer. So you guys know my personal thoughts. You guys know my personal thoughts on remake and with this alternate timeline stuff. You know this. But if I had to choose, it doesn't really matter to me. I guess that's why I didn't answer it. I just at this point I've kind of I've given it up. It's in the writer's hands at this point. So I don't like the alternate timeline thing. So I'm going to go with the I guess the Beagle. I'm gonna go with the Beagle just because that was the timeline that I played in remake until the Terrier popped up out of nowhere. So we'll go Beagle. Cactuar or Tonberry? This is coming from Adriel. So Cactuar or Tonberry, Vinny?
so that's a tough one.
Mm-hmm.
Before Final Fantasy First Soldier, I would have went Tonberry all the way. They're so cool, they're so menacing, they're so tiny, and they got that cute little knife.
Mm-hmm.
But after playing First Soldier and seeing a Cactuar suit holding a pistol, that might be one of my new favorite things. So I'm gonna go with Cactuar.
A Cactuar. Okay. I'm going with the Tonberry. You know what I mean? I hope Gamer Tonberry's watching this because hey, man, respect. You know, I like the Gamer Tonberry. I took a picture of the Gamer like with Cloud and the Tonberry's head touching, and I was like, forever. You know what I mean? Like, we're forever. Hashtag forever. So I'm going with the Tonberry. I think they're awesome. I think when I saw them in Final Fantasy VII for the first time, like back in the day, I have it's just a memory, right? Like I said, what the heck is this? I'm freaking a high level, area, and then all of a sudden this like little turtle thing is like coming at me. What is this? And then I remember attacking it so much and it not dying, and I'm like, okay, well, like it's just moving around. It's just walking around that area, and it was just so cool to see the enemy actually just kind of moving because might be the only enemy in the game that does that. Like it just kind of moves, right? One of the only enemies, at least. It just kind of moves around. And I'm like, what? Why is he getting closer to me? Like, what is going on right now? And then it just stabs and automatically kills somebody. I'm like, what the? Wait a second! Knights of the Round! Like, just send this guy out of here. So that was cool. I like that. So Tonberry for me. Ooh, Vinny. That's my best Venom voice for you. Like if he took over your like a symbiote. Vinny. Vinny. Jecht versus Orin. Ooh, this one's for you, man. And this is coming from Blockstein07.
So I'm probably gonna have to go with Orin. I love Jecht as a character, and I like how he developed through. He didn't do his own development. He developed through what Orin told Titus. So I feel like Orin takes a lot of that credit for fathering Titus. Like Jecht fathered Titus through Orin's stories, and how, like, not just stories, but like how Orin, he's just so wise for a 30-year-old. Like he's
and a man of few words, and then like when he does talk, you listen. You listen to what he has to say. Love it.
Right, and but Jecht was very, I would say, noble at the end. The last fight when you can weaken Jecht by having Titus talk to him, just like, that wouldn't be a mechanic if Jecht didn't care. If the developers didn't want Jecht to actually
I
seem
know,
like
man.
he cares, then Titus wouldn't be able to weaken him with his words. So
That was such a
it's,
cool mechanic, like
mhm.
story, implementing a story within the battle. I love that. They did that
But
with a couple of them. But okay, go ahead.
I'm gonna have to go with Orin. That
Mm.
scene in Xanarkand when the Fireflies show you him going back to Unalesca and him having that like breakdown moment
Mm-hmm.
when his two friends are dead and he's just like very upset and he like goes to take her on and he just gets killed.
Mm.
And I mean it's also pretty, so everything leading up to that part. So the fact that he got killed, well, he got maimed in Xanarkand
Yeah.
and then crawled all the way back down to through Gagazet all the way back down and then had Kamari go and take care of Yuna
Yeah.
from Mount Gagazet. Like that was very his dedication to keeping the promise of taking care of Titus and Yuna
It's got.
after
Yeah.
Braska and Jecht were gone. Like the it, he came back from death to fulfill these promises, and he's just really cool.
Amazing answer for that question. I have nothing else to say because I agree 100%, Orin, for those reasons, and you just so beautifully said. Beautifully answered. Thank you for that question, Blockstein. This one's coming from Round 2 Gaming. Highwind versus Ragnarok. Oh! Oh! Oh my god. The airship in Final Fantasy VII versus Final Fantasy VIII airship. Oh wow. Okay, so obviously personal attachment to Highwind. I have a really personal attachment to that. Anything seven related is gonna be it's gonna be hard because it leans that way a lot. But in terms of just cool factor, oh my god, the Ragnarok was so cool, man. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? Because I mean, for me, I can't go against the Highwind because I love the Highwind so much, but the Ragnarok is so cool. What do you?
I Mine is the Highwind. I like the Highwind, like the getting the upgrades for it, and how as you progress in the story, your pilot goes from like wimpy and scared to fly it to being like a level 12 pilot, super cool, super confident.
Mm-hmm.
You go to talk to him, he's just like, where you want to go?
Yeah,
Like
I
I'll get
got
us
you
there.
now.
Like
Yeah.
the High Wind felt like it had its own personality with its crew because
Mm-hmm.
the crew and then depending on, well, I mean, if it's your first playthrough and you don't get Yuffie, you don't get like the cool like motion sick, um you don't get the motion sick, scene where she's like hurling over
Oh
the
yeah.
gate, just throwing up on the people of Gaia, just like,
Mm-hmm.
flying around, just getting puke,
Mm-hmm.
just littered across the map. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna go with the High Wind. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
the High Wind is.
Also,
I
really
mean, the
cool.
Ragnarok is cooler,
Yeah,
but
yeah, right.
I
It's so hard to do because, like, when you say like, "Oh yeah, there was seats," I feel like there's so much like of a Final Fantasy VII bias to this right now, and I recognize this so much right now. Whoever asked that question, who was it? Round 2 Gaming. There is so much of a Final Fantasy VII bias to this answer, but man, because like Ragnarok has amazing scenes too, right? Like Ragnarok in Final Fantasy VIII has so many awesome scenes, but with with Final Fantasy VII, seeing you have in the battle being Sid's final limit break or whatever, right? And like having the
Mm.
high wind come down and just freaking bombard the enemy is epic. And then at the final scene of Final Fantasy VII, where it swoops into the crater and like you gotta, yeah, it's so good.
And you
Um,
also fight Ultima Weapon on it.
and
You
you
have that
fight
cool
Ultima
aerial fight.
Weapon, yeah. Oh wow, yep. So many cool things. I feel like anybody who's a Ragnarok fan could definitely counter any of these stuff, but our answer is going to be Highwind. Uh,
But I do want to have a personal shout out to Final Fantasy X and Final Fantasy X Part 2.
mhm.
The airships were called Fahrenheit and Celsius,
Oh yeah. Oh, now that
and
that might be a top five for us, Vinny. We need to do a top five video of airships. But go ahead, because I
um
love those.
like playing 10 for the first time and you get to a certain point, I think you speak to one of the Albed, and if you have enough Albed primers, you actually you find out that the first mission you do with Riku, you when you're under the water and you fight the octopus, you were actually there to get the Fahrenheit.
Mm.
And when I played through again and you're swimming, you can actually see the airship under the water in Final Fantasy X, and you
Oh,
see all the Albeds swimming to it to kind of salvage it. So that I thought that was really cool.
oh, that is cool. Yeah. All right, yeah, because the top five airships is going to be a lot of fun. We're definitely going to bait a lot of people with that because we are going to absolutely call it the top five Final Fantasy ships. So, and I will have a picture of Tifa and Aerith on the front, like, and they're just gonna be, it's gonna be airships. So, all right, so well, that's gonna be an easy answer. Sky Serpent for Vinny. I can't wait to get that one. We'll make sure we go in order here. So we go to Cerberus versus Alexander. This is coming from Vincent Graymore. Cerberus versus Alexander. Now, I kind of feel like we kind of need to like be. Do we need to specify here? What do you think, Vinny? Do you know what
I,
he's talking about? Like, because like there's obviously multiple
I'm
appearances.
The first thing I thought of was Alexander, the summon materia from Seven.
Okay, yeah, same. What about
But there's
Cerberus?
also
What do we?
um
Vincent, can you clarify a little bit so that way we know exactly what we're talking about? Because they have multiple appearances throughout the. Oh, okay, okay. Summons an 8. Okay, so he's specifying it summons an 8. Okay.
I was gonna, yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna go with Alexander because in 8 Alexander is the giant city, right?
Yes. I'm kind of bringing it up now so that way I can have a good reference. Yep, I remember
Hmm.
that now. And then Alexander. So Cerberus is pretty basic. You get you get your Cerberus. I can probably share the screen, but anyways. So Alexander is the, I'm pretty sure, yeah, that's like the big tank looking city thing, right? It's got the,
Hmm.
yeah. So what do you think, man? I'm going with Alexander just because Alexander looks freaking awesome in Final Fantasy VIII, whereas Cerberus looked like you're kind of, what you imagine Cerberus would look like.
See, I'm thinking more mechanically.
Okay.
Alexander, I think, is the only way to get holy magic in 8 and in 7,
Ooh.
but I think he's the only way to get holy magic in 8 if I might be mistaken. I haven't played 8 in a while, but
Surely,
I think you need
yeah.
to. Yeah, it is. Yeah, he's holy. So, um, I do like that. I like in like how in Final Fantasy 7 you don't get water spells, but you get Leviathan, which does water damage.
Hmm.
And I think Aqua Breath does water damage too. But like whenever, whenever you're, um, whenever you're kind of gated into not having a spell, anything that does that element, I find interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So here's
because like
Cerberus. Okay.
in like Final Fantasy X, there's like no arrow, there's no wind or earth damage, but then you get certain things that kind of deal like pseudo elemental damage. So I always find those interesting. So my vote's for Alexander.
Going for Alexander. Okay, so I
Hmm.
just brought him up on the screen to kind of give people an idea in case if you kind of forgot what they look like. So there you go. Cerberus versus Alexander, right there. I might even put that in a poll later because I'm kind of curious of what you guys think.
Hmm.
What your thoughts are. There they are there. So while I set up the next poll, let's answer another question. Let's go with. Do you see anything in there? We got Lulu versus Rufus's dress. What? The Lulu versus Rufus dress. Um, Lulu.
Wait, wait, there's a Rufus dress? Am I missing something?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but I mean, whenever you put Lulu in there, outfit wise,
Is
it's Lulu.
I'm thinking of like a Who Wore It Better, and I'm thinking of
Who
Rufus
wore it
in
better?
Lulu's dress.
Who wore it better, Lulu or Rufus?
I'm thinking
Uh,
of Rufus just covered in belts.
yeah. Well, I mean, Final Fantasy remake. Rufus kind of has the belts all over. Who wears the belts
Um,
best? Um, I gotta
I
go
mean,
Lulu. I mean, like, I mean, I can't go against Lulu. Actually, I would. Never mind. Uh,
I I I don't know. I can't stop thinking, and Rufus just wearing a bunch of belts and nothing else. I'm gonna go with Rufus and a bunch of belts
I
as
mean,
my
just
final
look at the
answer.
remake model, bro. Like he's got the belts all
No,
down
no, no,
his.
no, no. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
But
I'm
you mean
thinking
in
of
Lulu's outfit?
no, no, no. Just belts. Just belts. Belts going down his arms. Belts going
Belts
down his
going down.
chest.
Just belts
Just
everywhere.
belts.
Rufus makes his way into Kingdom Hearts, and there it is. All right, so let's get another one. Sorry about that, Vincent. We're just like
Belts
uh,
versus belts.
belts versus belts, man.
Capital B belts versus lowercase b belts.
Okay, all
So
right. This
one's a
one's
proper now.
this one's from Sky Serpent again. Sky Serpent 14. Once again, if you guys don't follow Sky Serpent on Twitter, please do. Amazing art. Riku or Yuffie. This is. I mean, this is. I know it's kind of tough for you, but it's kind of feels like it's kind of easy. What is it, Benny?
It's Riku.
It's Riku. I mean,
Mhm.
that's
But
it. That's all there is to say about it, right? Yep, looks like we're good. Says that we're live again. Everybody
yeah,
good?
we're live.
Hey! Welcome to Final Fantasy Entertainment Podcast Network, where we have technical difficulties a lot.
A lot.
A
It wouldn't
lot.
be FFTV without them.
Oh man, you know what? You can upgrade the computer and you can make it a beast. But guess what? When the internet company the internet provider is trash, it doesn't matter. so,
Right.
so here we are. Okay, we're back. Everything's good. We're back online. Okay, so we were answering a question before, Wu Tai attacked. According to Vinny, that was a. All right, so it's Yuffie versus Riku.
Yep. And my answer was Riku, because she's amazing, and they're gone. They're gone.
Okay, I
So
thought I
don't
was
worry.
like, okay, you answered Riku again. I didn't know if we were going to lose connection.
No, no, no. I explained it to them that Yuffie is more powerful. She has Doom of the Living. You know, she has her Conformer and stuff. They were like, oh, okay, okay, we'll accept that answer. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. Uh, Riku is just, more bubbly. She's more fun.
Mm.
And she just makes playthroughs a lot more fun in Final Fantasy X. Um, her personality. She kind of doesn't take anything seriously. Um, but when things are serious, you can tell that she's in it 100%. Um, but her overdrives, they're just great. It's like casting 8 defensive spells all at the same time in
Mm.
one turn, and then prevents your team from wiping. And she makes a lot of those Dark Aeon fights
Yeah, her Albed
doable.
abilities, dude, are freaking awesome. Now,
Hmm.
when I found that out after you talking about it, right, so much
Hmm.
extensively, saying how OP she was in Final Fantasy X, and I was like, all right. So the last playthrough I did last year, around like last summer or whatever, uh,
Hmm.
I usually don't have Riku in my party. Like that was never my thing. Like, and she was never one of my main characters. And then when you talked about it, man, I made sure I was like, I gotta level her sphere grid up and see what I can do, and dude, and go get some of those rare items and stuff that you were telling me about.
Hmm.
God, that made the bosses easier. She
Hmm.
made the bosses so much easier.
Yes, she does.
God, yeah. So, anyways, yeah. So Riku for me as well. Yeah, Riku for me as well, because Yuffie has, which I'm really excited about for remake part two. I'm really excited about Yuffie, and even in the intermission, kind of expanded on it a little bit, right? I think she has a storyline that's going to be expanded really well in remake. So that's what I'm most excited about with remake. Honestly, is to take these characters that had amazing storylines. Every single character in Final Fantasy VII, and yes, even Kate Sith had these really great storylines. I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, you could take any character from Final Fantasy VII and just be like, oh, that's who we want to be the main character. That has a really interesting background. That's really, I want to explore that background. And then,
Hmm.
like, you can imagine being in the pitch room when you're like pitching Final Fantasy VII, and you're just like, wait a second though, I kind of want to follow Aerith as the main character because that sounds the most interesting. So there's so many. I love it. I love that remake is going to be expanding on that. All right, so sorry about those technical difficulties, but we're back at it. We just answered Yuffie versus Riku. We went with Riku over that, and which is interesting. Another Final Fantasy VII in there. You guys are making us compare. Um, Let's see. Let's see. What else we got? Okay, well, Warrior of Light says 7 or 10. Now, this is where we might split.
Yeah, no, 100% we're gonna
Okay.
split.
All right, so
Um,
so I kind of gave a little bit of a speech about Seven and its greatness. There's just so much more I can say about Seven, Vinny, and you know this is a debate that could be a very very long debate, but we'll try and keep it short, man. You know, like for me, it's Seven, right? Final Fantasy Seven. Obviously, it's everywhere here. I love Final Fantasy VII so much. There's a very deep personal connection to that game for me. There's growing up with Final Fantasy VII at a time in my life where that became like my imaginary like seeds, the seed of my imagination. So that just kind of is sparked so much within my mind. Final Fantasy VII as the game itself, rather than a personal choice. I think Final Fantasy VII has this great adventure, this great journey, whereas 10 definitely does have a great adventure, and I love the pacing of 10 the most, right? 10's, it felt like I said during the 10 anniversary, like the 20th anniversary for Final Fantasy 10 special, I said, dude, 10 feels like driving down the boulevard with the top down, right? Just cruising. It is a very, very linear path, but you are enjoying it because you got your top down, your friends in the car, you're seeing the sights as you roll by, and you're not stopping, right? You don't stop in a location for 10. So I'm kind of like strengthening your point here a little bit, but but I love 10, right? I love 10 so much, and it's definitely in my top 5. But 7 is just grand scale, the entire world, and it's just there's stories that are just layers and layers and layers of story, and you just dive into it. 7 for me all the way, man.
so for me, it's 10.
Mm-hmm.
For a lot of the points that you have already given,
Yeah.
the story I feel is just paced very well, and it I feel like I mean this is the same goes for 7 as well. As you're progressing, it feels like every time you progress, you want to keep going,
Mm-hmm.
because you don't want like you're like, all right, just one more hour, and then that hour's up, and you're just like, oh man, I want to see where this goes. I want to see where this goes. Like
Yeah.
7 has that, um, very like put together very well. I like how 7 is, um, like the story just it just feels so, um, present day, no matter what time period you're playing this game. It just political corruption, um, there's uh there's world leaders who are, out for money, and then there's all these towns and villages where they're just kind of like, yeah, the world sucks. We're just trying to, do our best to get through it. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
very relatable. 7 is probably one of the most relatable video games out there
Yeah,
if
there's
you
a
take
character
the,
for everyone, right? Like, yeah, there's a
right.
character for everyone. Mm-hmm.
Now I'm not talking like you're gonna go outside and like, fist fight a bunch of squirrels for experience or anything, but like, you know, character wise, like it's very relatable.
How do you think I got so
Unless,
awesome, dude?
huh?
How do you think I got so awesome? Like, I
By
got,
fist fighting
yeah,
squirrels?
I just go out there and like stand still, and I just, it's a true story actually. No, it's a very true story. I would go outside when I was like 7 or 8. I would go outside, and now as a parent myself, I I could like you know what I mean. Like what was my parents thinking when they looked out the window and they just saw me standing still?
They
Like they
said
probably
that
never
boy
even
ain't
played
right.
Final Fantasy VII before. They don't know what Final Fantasy VII is. Like they just know I play it. They don't know what it's about. They just see me standing there, just going, and then just run up and just slash the air and then just jump back. You know?
Right. And at that moment your dad related to Hank Hill, and he was like
What in the hell?
that boy ain't right.
That boy ain't right.
Um with with 10, I just I like I like how the story is paced, and how there's there's break points in the game where,
Mm,
um the only thing that takes me off of the pacing is when, and I understand why they had to do this as like aspect of video gamingness
Mm-hmm.
is like sin is waiting for you to fight it,
Mm.
and then you can like break off and go play blitzball.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
right.
like that's where the pacing. But I understand it's just like, oh, once you fight him, you're not gonna be able to come back.
Yeah.
So, do what you want to do now. So I understand that aspect. But yeah, I like Seymour as a villain. I I will say this if this becomes a question, but
You're inviting it, but yeah, go.
but I do Sephiroth over Seymour.
Oh.
But I do say
Yeah.
Kefka over Sephiroth. But that so. But Seymour, I just like how his kind of crazy just works for the game. How like Sephiroth seems more intelligent than Seymour does,
Hmm.
but Seymour is he just he
That
his mind was broken as a child,
yeah,
and
it's
he just
very
never recovered from
heartbreaking.
it.
Yeah, very heartbreaking that
And
story.
he just he was a broken individual who came into power, and well, he forced himself into power,
You gotta,
and
yeah. I'm sorry, man. I just gotta
no, you're
say,
good.
like, if you're listening to this and you like this conversation, please check out our Final Fantasy X 20th anniversary because it follows the theme of sins of our fathers, right?
Hmm.
Like that, the whole thing. So I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah, Seymour, broken
No, you're good.
individual. Yeah.
He Yeah, I mean the whole game is sins of our fathers. Like
Mm-hmm.
Jecht Jecht was Jecht was a bad father in Titus's eyes, and we only saw Jecht through Titus's eyes because of he's we're playing the game through him,
Mm-hmm.
so we feel what he feels about certain people, and then you find out more like Jecht wasn't a bad father, he just didn't know how to be a father. He wasn't
Mm.
ready to be a father, and he was a pro athlete who had a child, and he was like and then he got sucked away into a different world, and it just kind of seemed to
Don't you hate when
Titus
that
like he was,
happens?
yeah, right,
God.
um but you know and then uh Driscoll,
Mm-hmm.
is it Driscoll or Gwiscoll? Driscoll, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. For
I
Seymour's father.
Yeah.
Yeah.
um he was like too, I don't want to say too good of a father, but he wanted to protect his son from the the animosity of the world, like
Yeah.
you know
Mm-hmm.
um I mean
Because
it feels kind of
he knew that he would not be seen, but it was also very selfish in the same way, right? Like he didn't
right,
want to. Yeah, he
which he
wasn't.
admits to,
Yeah, he admits to it. So he
and he
was.
says my punishment is going to be my son killing me, and he did nothing to
Mm,
stop it. He knew it was coming, and he was like, so this is my punishment. I tried sheltering him, and he grew up with all this hate that I couldn't protect him from, so this is my punishment.
mm-hmm,
And then you know Yuna's father what did a Yuna's father also did her wrong
mm-hmm,
by making her blindly follow something that she didn't want to do,
mm-hmm.
because you could like she wanted to save Spira from sin, but like you could her whole journey, like even in the beginning when she brings those suitcases and they're all gifts for the temples and
Mm.
everything, like she she's a good person, and it kind of has that feeling of like I'm only doing this because
Mm.
my dad told me to,
Mm.
kind of thing. And then
Yeah. That dude, it hits on a whole nother level, right? Like now
mhm.
being a father myself, like I said during the show, man, please go back and watch that podcast because it is really cool. We do it with Soldier First Class. He's a huge Final Fantasy X fan as well. That was his favorite game before 14, I think. So it was really cool to have him on the show and really kind of dive into this underneath the layer of Final Fantasy X, like right, just kind of going deeper into that story. Which I think the same thing can be said for Seven, right? Like I mean, like Seven has so many great things too. But yeah, that's where we draw the line right there, guys. I think we've been in ingredients for most of this. And then Seven versus Ten is that is such a like it's a really cool thing at Final Fantasy TV, right? You got 7 and 10. That's me and Vinny, right? So cool. So really great conversations there to be had, but we're gonna move on to another question. Do you have any on the back burner, Vinny, or
Um,
should I search
there's
for
there's
one?
there's a few.
Okay.
It said one person asked, would you rather live in the Midgar slums or the Trino slums?
Final.
Mine's Midgar slums, Wall Market.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you get Wall Market in there. Hmm. Now, see, Final Fantasy VII. If you go to the original slums,
Hmm.
it is painted a different picture. So, like, if you go remake slums, it's kind of like, ooh, slums aren't that bad. It's a community based thing, like it looks nice down there. Um, but if you go Final Fantasy VII, the plate is actually only, I can't remember the exact measurements, but it's only like what 50 meters high or something like that.
Hmm.
I did a comparison on Twitter actually. I'll see if I can find that video on the next question, so that way you guys can see the visualization. But if you look up and you see like you're in New York City and you see a very tall skyscraper, right?
Hmm.
That's where the plate was, like at the top of that skyscraper. Actually, no, I'm so sorry. For remake, that's where the plate was. It was on top of the skyscraper for the Chrysler building, I believe it was. So there's plenty of clearance, right, between that. You feel like, and then in remake, you can also get some sunlight in there. You got a community going on. Everybody's not as bad off as you think they would be. It just kind of sucks down there. The quality of life is not very good. Now, yes, thank you so much for that clarification. So remake is 300 meters, OG is 50 meters. Now, if you do a 50-meter plate, that's only, I believe my math is right on this. I did it all a while ago. 14 stories high on a building,
Hmm.
which means the freaking plate is like, it's right there. You get no sunlight. It feels claustrophobic. You get all of the smog and the bad air pollution coming down there, and that's how it's described in the original. It's described as just crap. Like, it is just a very cruddy place to live in.
And
Um,
50 meters is 164 feet. So
yeah,
imagine taking 164 steps. That is the height
yeah, it
of
is. Right. So if you ask me that question, it is absolutely not the slums at all in Midgar. If it's the original Final Fantasy VII, remake
but
Final Fantasy
also
VII, I take that.
in original Final Fantasy VII, you definitely climb a lot more than 164 feet when you're climbing up to the Shinra building from the slums. So the proportion is
Well, no, you're
because
already on top of the plate at that point. Then you're just going up the
no,
Shinra building.
no. When you climb, when you got to put the batteries in the things when
Oh,
you're
oh, as
climbing
you're
from.
climbing the ropes and like getting up
Mhm.
there. Oh, okay. Hmm. I don't know,
That's
man.
that's definitely more than 164 feet.
It does look like it, kind of. I guess. I guess. Yeah, but I mean, hey, I don't know. Maybe it was a typo or something. But the way it's described in remake doesn't seem like a place I would ever want to live in, or not in remake. The original.
I would just
Um.
stay in Walmart all the time.
Yeah. Just. Well, I mean, there's a lot of corruption there, dude. Like, that sounds like a very.
There's no corruption in squats.
There's no.
There's
Just
no
a
corruption
corruption
in
of
squats.
calories, bro.
Right. Staying in that caloric deficit.
Get it, bro.
Squat all day.
Squat all day. You can do it, bro. Um. All right, so yeah, I'm definitely going to go remake slums. So I don't even know if that was the question, honestly, but we'll go on to the next question. What was it? What's the next
Um,
question, bro?
let's see. Um,
Okay, Meteor is coming in Final Fantasy VII, and you could go breed Chocobo. I thought that was going to be a question when I read it, but it wasn't.
yeah, no, no, that was pertaining to our pacing
That
discussion when I
was something
said
I
you
really
could.
wanted to say on. I mean, like, look, Meteor is coming, and you can go breed Chocobos. Okay,
Well, no, when I said you could fight Sin and then go play
that's right.
Blitzball, it's
Yeah.
like Meteor's coming, and you're just like, I need to get this Chocobo late before Meteor comes.
Ooh, round two gaming says Tetramaster or Triple Triad.
Triple triad,
Triple
100%.
Triad. Yeah, I mean, like,
I,
I actually started up
I
the Maguri mod recently, which is fantastic. Tetramaster is not as bad as I remember. It's just I feel like Triple Triad is more addicting
I
and
have I have Triple Triad on my phone,
You do?
so I could play it.
Yes. We got to figure out a way that we can play that together.
Triple
Like,
Triad.
yeah.
I'm sure.
We can have little competitions on air. That'd be fun, dude.
Hmm.
Yeah.
As long as we don't get a cease and desist.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe we'll do it an FFTV style triple triad. I'll have to find a way
Quadruple
to.
Triad.
I'll send everybody like image files and like, here's your freaking cards or something.
All right.
All right. So yeah, I gotta go. Triple triad on that one. So we
I mean,
go.
triple. I don't remember Tetramaster too much, but I Triple Triad was a way to break the game too.
Mm,
Getting those specific cards and then junctioning them into a magic
mhm.
was just a way to overpower in the game. I don't remember if Tetramaster had something similar to that.
I would just say it was a way of rewarding
Right.
the player for playing triple triad. Like if you're gonna dump hours into that, it's like yeah, we're gonna make the game a lot easier for you. I don't know. I really enjoyed triple triad. I enjoyed like the Pokemon. At the time, that's when Pokemon was like a big deal, right? Like Pokemon was
Mhm.
exploding in popularity. So triple triad was really cool to have that in my Final Fantasy. And I think Tetramaster just felt like a way to capitalize on what was the success of it, but it didn't feel as
Mhm.
like it didn't feel like it was refined as Triple Triad, I guess.
Mhm.
All right, so Dream World Final Fantasy X versus Lifestream. Is that
Mhm.
what he's asking? It might be. It's very very similar too, which is interesting, right? Like they both have a very very similar concept, um, and they kind of get swapped back and forth with ideas too. I like the live stream just because I like the idea of, or at least what Final Fantasy VII, the original, established with the live stream. I like that. I like what
Like
they.
reincarnation, like, when one thing ends, it creates something new somewhere else
Yeah, and
type of
yeah, and
thing.
they live on, and like it's just cool. I like that
See,
stuff.
I I like the dream world of like the premise behind Dream World of 10, how it's
Mm,
like um it I just it just seems cool. Like thousands of people sacrifice themselves to basically undo the destruction of their city.
oh yeah,
Um,
yeah.
like Mount Gag, because that's like just one big like uh uh faith, and it's
Hmm.
they're dreaming so that the Xanarkin that Titus is from can, remain.
Yeah, that's
So
really cool. I'm
it,
sorry. I was thinking in my mind the live stream versus like the pyres and stuff like death.
oh, like the far
Basically,
plane.
yeah, that was far plane. Thank you. Yeah, that was my fault. All right, but yeah, dream. Go on. Yeah.
So like because so what from what was like explained in the game, Titus isn't from 1,000 years in the past. That dream world is in the present. It's just existing outside of. It's existing within Spira, but outside of Spira, kind of like a
Mm,
Bermuda Triangle type thing,
mm,
um, where he wasn't actually taken 1,000 years into the future. He just broke through that like ethereal barrier
mm.
that like allowing him to be part of Spira. Um, that Xanarkin is from 1,000 years in the past, but they've been dreaming for 1,000 years. So he's actually in the present dream world, broken into Spira and stuff. It was just very cool how that was portrayed. Like it's like time travel without actually time traveling. It's timey wimey.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, like, yeah, the timey wimey stuff, but done good. So we go with we got another one, Cloud or Squall from Adriel.
Cloud.
Cloud. Uh, I mean, yeah, Cloud. If I have to give a reason for this, I guess just like Squall was a cool character. I really like the love story. I'm not as much of a hater on Squall as a lot of people are apparently. I think Squall had a lot going on, and
Mhm.
and a lot going on mentally, and then like he was very shut out from people. And I love the love story between him and Ranua, and like how he brings or she brings him out of his shell. Um, I love that. I love that character evolution of Squall, but with Cloud, I get that. Yeah, he's somebody else in his mind for a long time, and like, I just love Cloud's character. You know what I mean? I love that when he discovers himself in the live stream. I love that he cares so much, and even this is something that I'll even say that Advent Children did well. For the longest time, when Advent Children came along, I was like, Cloud is not this, this really depressed looking dude. Like, this is not Cloud. They portrayed him all wrong. I was kind of upset about it. I'm like, he makes jokes in the original. What are they doing to my boy? It's my boy Cloud. He makes jokes. He would do squats. He dances at the wall market. What is he doing? Like, being like this. And then it just made me think, I'm like, he's gone through a lot. And like the way they portray him, he cares so much. You just don't get it at all. There's not a thing that I don't cherish. You know what I mean? Like, freaking love Cloud. All right, so yeah, Cloud for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Cloud too, because I think his identity crisis is something that everybody goes through at some point, no matter how long it lasts. But I feel like everybody just has that identity crisis of trying to figure out who they are. I feel like all of us, or most of us, have gone through that. Like, like, have you ever met somebody that you thought was really cool and your personality changed a little bit to kind of be like, wow, that person is really cool. I like what they do, and you just kind of like some of your mannerisms change.
Why do you think I grew out the beard?
Well, I grew mine because of you.
I thought. But
yeah, somebody's humor, and you're just like that. Whatever they're doing works for me too. Like, you just kind of, but then you kind of grow out of that, and you're like, they're cool because I perceive them to be cool because they are being who they are. So I should be who I am, so that I can also be cool in my own eyes. Because the only person you should ever worry about impressing is yourself. So, and then I told this to somebody who was having like an identity crisis about like a year ago, but I was just like, who you are tomorrow should be your hero today. Like, you should always, the person you're going to be tomorrow should be the person that you idolize today. So like, always try and make yourself better. Like, always try and strive to be the best you that you can be. And that's what I think Cloud realizes. Like, I'm awesome. Zach's awesome, but I am also awesome. So I should be my own type of awesome. So that's what I like about Cloud.
That was so good. Well said. So what else we got, guys? What else we got?
Would you rather walk to work by crossing the Midgard marshes or the Thunder Plains? I feel like I would die no matter what.
Has Sephiroth already been there though? Like, did Sephiroth do this? Can he already have already done it? Well, here's the thing. If you're walking to work, you got the Midgard is swimming around the marshes. If you're quiet, you might be able to make it through, maybe. I don't know how the Midgard like, maybe does it do sonar? Like, how's it work, man? Like, can he sense the trembles in the ground? Is he a dune sandworm? Like, what is this Midgard Can I be really quiet?
I feel like this question is more worded like, would you rather the last thing you see be a bolt of lightning or a giant 50-foot world-ending serpent? And I think I'm going to go with the serpent. Like, if I'm going to die, I'm going to want to see that behemoth just like in its majestic glory. Go
out with a real, not, I was going to say with a bang, but that would be more of a thunder.
That would be Thunder Plains.
Yeah, that would, go out with like a heroic end. You know what I mean? Like, you're just.
What are your coworkers going to want to talk about at the water cooler? Is it going to be like, oh,
Vinny got struck by a bolt of lightning.
he got zapped. Or like, hey, did you hear? Vinny got eaten by a 50-foot snake. Oh, that's so cool. He died doing what he loved.
He died doing what he loved, man. Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with the Zalem.
We're going marshes, man. We're gonna get across it. We're gonna either sneak our way across, or it's gonna come and we're gonna see a 50,000 just a freaking huge snake kill us.
Or in the realm of, infinite possibility, I befriend the snake and I
Oh,
ride it to work.
for sure. Like, I mean, that would be that would be pretty epic. There's your story right there.
Right.
You're riding on the back of the Midgard's like, "Ah!" Somebody Photoshop that, please, of just like Vinny with the sword like forward and like just riding the freaking Midgard's I feel
But
like that should be our background image next episode.
but I also feel like I'm Bad Luck Brian and I'm gonna be riding the Zalem that Sephiroth decides to impale through the tree.
Oh, whoops!
So I'm also gonna get,
Impaled
like,
or stuck on top of a tree. Like,
yeah,
hey,
now I'm late for work.
now I'm late for work.
You'll
Should
never
have took the
believe what
Thunder
happened.
Plains. Damn.
This celestial space god came and picked up my vehicle, which was a 50-foot snake, and now I'm stuck in a tree.
You're fired.
Yeah, right?
You're fired. Get out of here.
Like you're getting drug tested the second you come into work. I hope you know that.
What else we got, guys? What we got? Oh,
Okay, so the spirits within versus Advent Children versus
ooh,
Kingsglaive.
making us choose between three things. I'll allow it. I'll allow it. Um, for me, it's Kingsglaive, man.
I was gonna also say Kingsglaive.
Kingsglaive is actually a really, really good movie. I freaking love
Hmm.
that movie. Whereas Advent Children is 30 minutes of freaking pure awesomeness. And then the rest
Hmm.
of it is a little bit, for personally speaking, as an extremely huge Final Fantasy VII fan, and really deeply invested into that, I have a really hard time watching it. Like it's, you know what I mean? Like once you get to Sephiroth, like freaking Kadaj absorbing and then he turns into Sephiroth. That's when the movie just is. I sit back and go, you know what I mean? I'm just like, this is amazing. This is awesome, and I'm good with that for the next 30 minutes. Advent Children complete. I will say Advent Children Complete is a much better version of that movie. I love that they added the blood, which is something I think Final Fantasy VII is a mature game trapped in a teen rating. You know what I mean? Like, and I saw that so many times with the Material Ultimania. Like, they even say like, oh, we had to cut back on Scarlet Stress because of the rating that we wanted, and I'm just like, Final Fantasy VII is a mature title, and like the language that was in there, and all that other stuff. So when they did Advent Children Complete and they added the blood, they made it feel mature. They added that scene with Denzel and seeing the geostigma infecting them and like just really gruesome imagery. That's where it's at. But Kingsglaive is just top notch, really good. And I'm not as picky as a lot of people are with Final Fantasy 15 being told through multimedia format. I think Final Fantasy 15 Kingsglaive is such a great piece of media that should absolutely accompany that video game. Like, so it's like watching a 2-hour cutscene before you play the game. You know, I really like it.
So now I just need a little context because I with Final Fantasy VII, I forget a lot of timelines and where things like line up. Advent Children and Dirge of Cerberus, how do their timelines add up? Is it
Advent
uh
Children first, and then Dirge.
so Advent Children happens and then Dirge of Cerberus happens as far as like continuity?
Yeah, the very
Okay.
last thing that happens is Dirge of Cerberus, ending where it's Genesis coming up from the saying we have much work to do, and then flies off.
Mhm.
So that like continuity wise, it's Dirge of Cerberus last, but yeah, I mean, and then to add to the Spirits Within, Spirits Within is actually it's an interesting one because I feel like they could have done something a little if they would have set that movie outside of the world, like outside of the world we know. I would have liked it a lot. I don't like that it took place in New York. I don't like that they were trying to reel it in. I almost really wanted to ask Sakaguchi when he was on the show. I wanted to ask him like, what was the original pitch for Spirits Within? Because I feel like he pitched his movie and then they were like, well, we got to put it into real world context. I don't know. That's just where my mind's at. I just feel like they kind of did it that way.
See, I don't
Yeah.
like Spirits Within because of a bias I have. I was all right, so POV,
Okay.
it's Friday. I'm like 10 years old. I'm in Blockbuster, and Blockbuster had trading cards like up at the register. And all I saw was like a bunch of packs of trading cards that said Final Fantasy on it. And this is after I was playing like Final
Oh
Fantasy
yeah.
10 and Final Fantasy 7.
Uh-huh.
So I like bought a bunch of these packs, not even like really, making connections because 10-year-old, I saw Final Fantasy and I was like, mine.
Yeah.
Um, and it turns out that they were Final Fantasy The Spirits Within trading cards. And I was like,
Who,
the hell is this?
who's all
So I was
these?
just
Who
like,
are these people? Like, what is this?
right. So I was like, no. But
No, I don't like this at all.
no,
Have you ever
this
seen it?
isn't
Did you ever
Final
go
Fantasy
back and
10.
watch Spirits Within?
Mm-mm.
Never. Okay.
No.
That's interesting.
Left a bad taste in my mouth because I wasted like $15, like like 1999 $15. Like, it's a lot of money now.
Oh god, I have Spirits Within somewhere on that shelf. But yeah, no, that would be a fun watch along. That would actually be pretty fun. Like
I've never seen it.
me and you, and obviously you can't stream the movie, but if you guys own the movie, maybe we could do like a we're pressing play and everybody press play and we just do kind of a watch party.
Well, I think Twitch has a watch party feature, or
If it's on Amazon, I think if it's on Amazon,
yeah,
you can do it. But I think, yeah, I don't know how it works. We'll have to look it up. I don't know if
we'll
everybody has
figure it
to
out.
own it or something, but that would be a fun one to kind of do a watch party on. It is. I watched it recently, actually, because last year was the 20th anniversary of it, and I wanted to kind of have a celebration episode for it. We actually had a lot of that in the works. We were going to have Ming Na Wen on the show.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, obviously, as you can tell, Ming Na Wen was very busy with Book of Boba Fett now. But yeah, we were gonna have her on the show, and it was gonna be a lot of fun talking about Spirits Within. So I watched it recently, rewatched it. It is it has potential. Like I said, I mean, I wish it was taking place outside of the real world, but I actually liked and I don't know, outside of this movie, I know that he was under a lot of fire recently. James Woods. I'm not sure about the actor. I think he had some really messed up stuff. You're frozen on my end. Are you good? Okay, you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a lot of messed up stuff around him, but I liked the character. I liked Hades. That he's the same guy who played Hades in Hercules. And I
Hmm.
love it when they're like warning, exceeding the max capacity of this weapon that he's firing, and he's like, I know, and then like he just, I know, he's like fire the weapon, and then they just fires it anyway, and it's just so good, man. I love it. Anyways, so Final Fantasy Spirits Within had potential, but it's not in the running between those two movies, Advent Children and Kingsglaive. Kingsglaive wins hands down. Love that movie so much. And we've also spoken with Liam Mulvey on the show. And Liam Mulvey provided some really, really cool insight to behind the scenes for that movie. So please, if you haven't already, check out that podcast with Liam Mulvey. He was the voice of one of the Kingsglaives in that movie. So let's go on to another one. We got another one?
Not that I see,
Okay.
unless I missed one. Um,
Okay. Just to
I,
clarify on that, Dirge of Cerberus is 1 year after Advent Children.
right, and the reason why I
Thank you,
was I
Vincent.
was asking for that point was because after replaying Dirge of Cerberus, um, a few months ago on stream, we saw a little cutscene of Cloud and Scarlet. No, not Scarlet. Crimson. The red one.
Well,
The
I'm sorry, what? I
in
was
Dirge
reading
of
chat.
Cerberus.
Sorry, I was reading chat. I didn't hear what you said.
In Dirge of Cerberus, the is her name Crimson? I forget what her
Oh,
name is.
God, what's her name? It's got something with the red. Help me out,
Is
chat.
it
Russo the
is it
Crimson. Thank you, Russo the Crimson.
Ru, Ru, you see her and Cloud about to fight, and then you don't see them fight. And I was just like, that would have been
Mm,
really cool in Advent Children. But if
mm,
those timelines don't line up properly, then
they
we
don't.
obviously wouldn't
Yeah.
see it in Advent Children. But it would be cool to see like a, you know, Advent of Cerberus movie where it's like after Advent Children,
Let's
after
follow
Dirge of
Cloud.
Cerberus.
Oh, okay. No, never mind. Like,
Like, well,
yeah.
no, I want to see that fight after
Well, we're
knowing that
seeing
there's a
it right
fight.
now, Vinny. With remake is the after Dirge of Cerberus. Like, I feel like
Well, yeah.
that's a whole nother conversation. But if it is, maybe we get a little nod to that. Maybe Russo the Crimson, seeing how they're bringing back all these deep ground characters. Maybe Russo the Crimson and Cloud face off, man. Maybe we get that face off in remake part 2 or part 3 or whatever it's going to be. Maybe we do see Russo versus Cloud. That would be
That would be a really cool fight.
that would be a cool fight. Um, Genesis and Vice versus Cloud and Vincent. Is this a real
Like
question?
who
Like who
is
would
this
win?
like
Like
a
a oh okay. I'm sorry. I was thinking like okay, do you like Genesis and Vice or Cloud and Vincent? But you're asking us who would win in a death battle. Is that what you're thinking, Benny? Is that what,
I think that's what it seems like. Who would win, Genesis and Vice
okay.
versus Cloud and Vincent? I'm gonna go with Cloud and Vincent.
I mean, yeah. I mean, they're the heroes.
Hmm.
They're the hero. I feel like they would win in the end. You know,
Hmm.
because I mean,
Or that's how remake ends, and they're just like, they're just like, oh, they died.
good guys always win. Thanks, hey, and nobody. Yeah. Cloud and Vincent. I think. I think they're more powerful.
Hmm.
I don't know, man. I mean, Genesis and Vice are obviously. I mean, Cloud beats Sephiroth, right? Like, and in my
Hmm.
mind, Sephiroth is the most powerful. I don't care anybody argue with me. I don't care. Sephiroth is the most powerful being in that universe. And I refuse to believe anything else, like because otherwise I don't like it. So yeah, I'm gonna go Cloud and Vincent. Vincent has chaos too. That's another thing we have to think about too. Vincent literally can transform
Well,
into chaos.
well, yeah. I mean, I was gonna bring that up that Vincent is a weapon, um,
Yeah,
and
true.
he's the strongest weapon, right?
Yeah,
Or
he's like the freaking harbinger of death or something. Like this dude is the
right.
yeah.
So, like, I mean, um, in Final Fantasy OG, Chaos seems very held back
Hmm.
by, number one, not being able to control his movements, and number two, it being turn-based. But I
Yeah,
feel like a present day video game, Chaos would just be so
dude.
overpowered
You gotta
through speed,
imagine
power.
how are they going to handle that in remake? That's going to be a very interesting thing. I
Mhm.
honestly, I do truly believe that Vincent will have his DLC, and it'll be intermission part 2, like remake part 2, and then intermission part 2 or whatever. And I think it'll focus on Vincent taking down Deep Ground for good, because I feel like that's how they're going to wrap up that story. They're going to keep Deep Ground and all the all the Dirge of Cerberus stuff. I think they're going to keep that in the separate stuff. So if they do that, Vincent can have his like crescendo in that part 2 intermission and fighting all of that. We might even see that fight. Be cool. Um all right, so anybody else have any questions or any more like want to make us compare two different things? And then two different Final Fantasy things and then choose. That's what we're trying to do. Choose between two different Final Fantasy things. This has been a really fun one. Honestly,
Mhm.
we were going into this podcast just winging it. We didn't really know what we were going to talk about. You guys have given us a lot of really fun topics, so thank you so much for that. We will be kind of wrapping this up after if anybody else has any more questions. Um, but yeah, well, I'll give it some time. Vinny, thanks so
I
much.
believe
What's up,
I
man?
remember one from earlier.
Okay.
I think it was Costa del Sol or Gold Saucer. I don't think
Ooh.
we asked that one yet. And that
Hmm.
is a tough one
Yeah, it's like
because I
what
do
you in the
love the
mood for.
beach.
Yeah.
Well, I always love the beach. I
Hmm.
love the water.
Nice.
I
It's
could live out
your
in the
shirt is backing that up.
yeah. Um, but the Gold Saucer has Moogle story. Um, Moogle story. is so it's a breath of fresh air.
It's
It's a
just
nice change of pace. You got this you got this chubby little Moogle. You got to feed him, and
Mhm.
then you basically same thing with the Chocobos. You just try and get this Moogle laid.
Look. You're just
Um,
trying to get this, just trying to get this move late, man. Like,
and uh, and but I did see somebody bring up a counterpoint. They said, they choose Costa del Sol because I just want to be able to refill my drink and go back to the beach. I don't want to have to
mm.
arm wrestle for GP every time I want to refill my drink.
Yeah.
Um,
Gold saucer was the beginning of microtransactions.
right.
Like,
Um, but Gold Saucer, sit there, shoot hoops. Um,
yeah.
Playing that VR
Chocobo
submarine
racing.
game would be cool. Like if you think about like Gold Saucer, but like not like the 832-bit, 16-bit like graphics or whatever, like
Yeah, you're
that
like
VR
Finns,
submarine game would be like a lot of fun.
dude.
VR snowboarding.
Remake, man. Remake is gonna do that. I'm
Hmm.
so excited for Gold Saucer and Remake. That's a topic for another podcast. Honestly, I'm really like have so many ideas for Gold Saucer and Remake. Um, yeah. So for me, man, that's a tough one. I'm gonna go Gold Saucer. I'm gonna go Saucer. There's a
Yeah.
lot more to do. A lot of like the Chocobo racing would be a lot of fun. The like you said, the submarine thing too. So
Do I get to hang out with Hojo in his lab coat on the beach if I choose Costa del
obviously
Sol?
getting a tan.
Hmm.
What do you, I can't wait for that.
Or
They got to keep it.
do I get to bully children by kicking their soccer ball into the wall over and over again so they don't get to play with it? Because these are
Hey,
all things you
Cloud,
can do.
kick that over here. Boom! Just kick it against this wall like a bunch of times.
And the kids are just watching you do it. They're just like,
What is?
"You're a bad man."
You're. And then just walk off casually like shit.
Hmm. Um, one thing I do
You want
want
this
to,
ball and then just kick it in the ocean and remake? Like if you can like just boom.
one thing I do want to say that was cool about Final Fantasy VII, but more specifically like Costa del Sol was how so the enemies you fight after Costa del Sol, like the cockatrice and all those things, they do stone, and I think that they are the first enemies that do stone in the game that you would come across.
Mm-hmm.
And Costa del Sol, they're like, buy our signature soft and
Mm-hmm.
everything. Like the items in the game are recognized by the people in the game.
Yeah.
Like, soft, cornucopia, gold needle, all that stuff. Like those are items that the people in the game know exist. It's not just like some mechanic that you have.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they're like the vendors are like, "Hey, adventurers, buy this soft because you're going to need it if you're going to be, walking around outside of Costa del Sol." It's
Mm-hmm.
like, "Okay, cool. Thanks for the advice, traveling salesman." Like,
Yeah, and like it
yeah.
kind of goes for like materia as well. Like the world
Hmm.
is very aware that people know how to do magic with their materia.
Hmm.
And then like even Chocobo Billy is like, you're gonna need a Chocobo lore. You know what I mean? Like materia. Here you go. So yeah, that is kind of cool. I like how that's implemented into the story. Chocobo versus Moogle. I'm going Chocobo.
Chocobo.
Chocobo for me as well. Wait, that's what I said.
Mhm.
There's only water in this.
Are you
Um,
sure?
yeah, 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 yeah. Sphere Good versus Crystarium. Obvious answer. Thank you, Vincent Graymore. That is an obvious answer. It is. It's a Sphere Grid,
Ha-
one
have
hundred
I
percent.
spoken about how much I hate the
Yeah, you.
Crystarium on
you
this show? The sphere
oh
grid all the
man.
way.
Yeah,
The
Vincent.
Crystarium just so I understand that the sphere grid also halts your progression at a certain point because you need key level spheres in order to progress further into your sphere grid.
Yeah,
Um, but the Crystarium literally just story blocks you. It's like, nope, you're not allowed to
it's
be this powerful here
forcing
yet.
you. Yeah, it forces you to do the strategy that they want you to do.
Right. I feel
For
like
for each
13
battle.
makes you play the way they want you to play.
Yeah, For sure. That adds to the conversation that was going around Twitter earlier. Like somebody
Mhm.
was, I think it was Legions talking about Final Fantasy 13 being like one of his favorite Final Fantasy games, and a
Mhm.
lot of people they just couldn't pin down what it was about 13 that they didn't like. Live so many different things. A lot of people commenting on the linearity. A lot of people commenting on like all that, like the pacing.
Well,
Um,
10 is more linear
yeah,
than
exactly.
13, so
Yeah,
it can't be the linearity.
exactly.
But for me, it's the Crystarium.
Hmm.
I just don't like it. It doesn't work for me.
Yeah. I will say to Legions if he is watching. For me, Legions, Final Fantasy 13 might be a little higher on my tier list than people might imagine. So I'm kind of excited to share that tier list, but I'm also kind of like people are gonna be like, really, this is such a weird top or a tier listing ranking. So Vincent's just laying down these questions, man. Anybody else? You guys can chime in. I'm going to answer these, though. I'm going to answer these. Um, Vincent says the flan versus the bomb.
I'm gonna go with the flan.
Flan. I mean, the bomb is cooler. Let's go to I'll go to the bomb. I like the
There's
design of the bomb in Final Fantasy X.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
he
cool.
looks cool in 10. Um, there's I just the flan. He has that derpy animation if you physically attack it, where he just kind of sucks into himself, and then he's just like, um. But I like their design. I like how they that like in 10 at least. I'm going off of like the flans from Final Fantasy 10 for
Yeah.
this answer. But you have, the different, like, as you progress, the flans get harder. They use,
Mm,
tier 2, tier 3 spells.
yeah.
Um and then you eventually meet a jumbo flan
Mm.
where he's just this gigantic, like,
Jelly.
amalgamation of a whole bunch of them put together. And I believe you learn White Wind off of him, or yeah, I think you learn White Wind from him
Hmm.
for Kamari. But they're so derpy, and then when you see a big one, it just looks even derpier because he's just like, and that sound when you get into the fight with him, that sound it makes when it just literally falls from the sky and it's like, boom, it just yeah, I'm gonna go with the flan.
You're going with the flan.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. All right, awesome. Or flan. I don't know what it's. Yeah, my pronunciation's bad. I'm bad with words, but I'm a podcast host. So Marlboro versus Tonberry. Hmm, interesting. I like the
I'm
Tonberry
also
still.
I'm also thinking Final Fantasy X.
F those
Like,
Marlboros, bro. Like, freaking hate that, man. They brush their teeth, dude. Listerine. Like,
the,
get out.
the, they're I feel like they're as iconic as the Tonberry,
They are.
for
Yeah,
Final
it's really
Fantasy.
it is. Marlboro has been in so many Final Fantasy games.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. I think the Marlboro is in Final Fantasy 1. I don't remember if the Tonberry is though.
See, look, here's the thing. It kind of goes back to that question, right? Like Marlboro versus Tonberry. Would you rather die a death that's really quick with a chef's knife, or would you rather die slowly in agony from the bad
What
breath that makes you maybe even kill your friend?
or would you rather die from your friend just getting really confused and beating the
Exactly,
shit
right?
out
Like
of you?
it's like, whoa, bro, watch out, man. I'm feeling
Um,
sick here. I just got poisoned. You got confused. We're all dying. What is that? So that just
and
sounds
I
bad.
can't see
I
anything.
can't see anything.
Um,
uh,
those greater Marlboros in the Omega Ruins are just they're so
dude,
ass.
right?
Like,
Oh
if you
god.
because they have initiative. So if you
They
don't
have
have initiative,
initiative. A
they
Marbo with
do.
initiative, dude. Not good.
It- right, so he always gets to go first, and then the first move he chooses is Bad Breath, which could
Done.
just wipe your whole
Just,
team.
just why would you do that to me?
And
Yeah.
there's only one save sphere in that whole place. So
I, I want to say, was it six? Oh god, never mind. I can't pin it down. I was gonna say no, nine. The Marble only does bad breath on one person. Like
Is
that,
that
I think it was 9.
that's a lot better
Yeah,
than
it was
it
just like
doing it
one
to
person. It's like,
everybody.
oh, okay, this is manageable. Thank you for doing that. Yeah, people. Okay, actually, hey, nobody saying people complaining about games being too linear is one of the weirdest complaints. Honestly, I agree to an extent, right? Like
Mhm.
especially in the context of Final Fantasy, right? Like so, Final Fantasy is not technically open world in the beginning with to begin with. Like I actually think that the linearity of I know that this was going around too. Remake was too linear, and it's just like, but that's the beauty of it, man. That's the
Mhm.
beauty of it. That it was literally evoking the same feeling as Final Fantasy the original. Like remake is just yeah. I mean, the original
Well,
Final Fantasy VII Midgar is literally you're just going point A to point B all the way up until you get
r-
out of there, and then that's the beauty of it when that open world, which is literally a linear path to Calm, and then a linear path to Chocobo Farm, a linear path to the Mithril Mines, linear path to Junin. You know what I mean? Or
mhm.
Fort Condor and then Junin. It's you're literally doing what they want, but they open it up. That's Final Fantasy in a nutshell. Like it's not it's
Mhm.
linearity with the illusion of open. Um,
And
yeah.
it, you need a happy medium for both because I believe it was Final Fantasy V. I
Mm-hmm.
think it was Final Fantasy V where I ran into this situation where like I didn't read a certain text dialogue. It might have been like late and I was just trying to get through text dialogue
Mm-hmm.
and I was told where to go and they didn't repeat themselves and I was like, well, crap.
Whoops.
And so I'm like level 15 fighting these things, traveling north, and I hit a certain point where I was fighting things that were one-shotting me at
Yeah.
now. And I was like, now I don't know where to go.
Yeah. They're
So
like
it's like
reel it back in, and yeah.
too much freedom is like, where to like games like Skyrim and
Mm-hmm.
and Fallout where you just have all of the
Here's the
freedom to
world.
do
Go do what
whatever.
you want. Right. Yeah.
And then you just get like you just you're traveling and
Sidetracked.
your side quest log is like
Mm-hmm.
50 quests deep and you're like
Yes.
I
That's
don't know
one
what I
thing
want
I
to do.
really hope Remake Part 2 doesn't do. Like,
Hmm.
I get that they had to kind of fill in some content with Midgar, and they added these like side quests and stuff that you could do, which I actually think helped because it actually impacts the story. Like, you do the side quest, Tifa wears a different dress, or I mean, like you get different options. It's kind of cool. As long as if it's like kind of impacting it complements the story. I don't like that's what I was looking for. As long as it complements the story, I'm good with it. But I just do not like fetch quests, right? I just don't like that. Like, hey, can
Hmm.
you go grab me a bucket of fish? And it's like, why?
Do it yourself.
Do it yourself. Of
Do it
course I'm
yourself.
going to do it though, because I'm a nice person. But you know what? I don't like it. But I'm gonna do it anyway. That's open worlds for me. Like open world games, it's like, yeah, of course I'm gonna do it for you, man. God dang it, I want to go
Or like
freaking save the world though.
or those
Um,
quests where it's like, oh, can you go get me this? And you bring it back to them and they're like, I don't have much to pay you with, but here's my family heirloom and it's like a summon material and you're like, you're giving me something that was passed down generations of your family and it
Thank
means a
you.
lot to your family and all I did was I got you like three biscuits and a cup of coffee.
Dude, you don't know how much that meant to him, man. They really wanted them
Right.
biscuits. No, like so that's the thing, like, right? So like I want part 2 to open up just like to evoke that same feeling from the original Final Fantasy where remake was a little linear. Sure, of course it was, because that's how remake or the original Midgar was. But then remake part 2, I want the first thing to do is just kind of step out and like see this open world or like open area, a large open area, because it's obviously not going to be open world. We did a whole video on that. So just like an open area where you're just like, nice. I want it to be like I can see something up there. Watch the video. What to expect? Cliff Resorts. I can see the Cliff Resort, but I can't get to it. Right? I still have to go do what they want me to do. I still have to go to the Mithril Mines. But I see you, Cliff Resort, and then that's the exploration I like. Like I see it up there, can't get it. Go there, come back, get my mountain chocobo later, and then I'll go up there. You know what I mean? Like
And
that kind of exploration
and
I love.
and that's the beauty of Dark Souls because in Dark Souls you can see everything.
Mm-hmm.
You if you see something you can go there and go to it.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to do stuff in order to get there, but it's like when you're in a certain area and you're just like that that gigantic city down there looks
Hmm.
awesome. I can't wait to get down there. It when games do that where they kind of showcase you in the background what you're going to see, it's like I can't wait to get there.
That's exactly it. So we love the kind of gated open world, right? So like
Hmm.
it's guiding you on a path, but the world is open and you can see it, but you need to follow the path in order to get to that point later on. It's kind of like a Metroidvania almost, like you know what I mean, like
Hmm.
that kind of style. Like make a mental log, come back to it later when you have the ability. And that's honestly kind of what Final Fantasy's been, right? So,
Hmm.
like even Final Fantasy 1, like the old overworld maps, when you're on the overworld, wait a second, across that river looks like there's a house there, but I can't get across the river. You know what I mean? I have to wait until I
Hmm.
come back to it later with a river chocobo or something.
Hmm.
But yes, anyways, so linearity is a funny word when people use it for Final Fantasy, and open world is a funny word when people use it for Final Fantasy 15. I liked Final Fantasy 15 open world, but then it was like what I call the funnel effect. I actually kind of liked it because it did the reverse, right? As Final Fantasy, in pretty much traditional Final Fantasy, it's the reverse, right? You're very funneled, and then it opens up, and you can just explore the world to your heart's content. Final Fantasy 15 flips the script. I liked it where you can explore this gigantic world or continent or whatever, do whatever you want. But guess what, man? When we hit the story, we're gonna keep this thing rolling, and like, and that I actually kind of liked it.
Hmm.
So, anyways, that's a open world versus linearity type thing debate. I think we're going to wrap it up here. We are, yeah, we're going to do it. We're going to wrap that up here. Thank you so much. Wait a second, I do want to read this one. To be honest, I wish that part 2 would have less side quests. Yes, of course, exactly what we're. Yes, that's kind of what I want. I want it to have. If it does have the same amount of side quests, I want them to be meaningful. But they have a whole lot of story that they have to cover. But I imagine they're going to create this gigantic Junon, and they're going to have some story like side quest in there. That's going to be one of those side quest hubs, right? They're going to have you doing other things before you go do the parade and get on the boat.
Hmm.
So Final Fantasy 13-2 versus 10-2. 13-2.
10-2.
Ooh.
10-2.
13-2. 100%. Like, I mean, like,
10-2 is
with a passion. I'm just kidding, but go ahead, yeah.
10-2 I just feel is it just has so much that's fun in it. Like if you play 10-2 as its own game and you're not trying to compare it to Final Fantasy X, which is obviously superior to 10-2, but
Mm-hmm.
10-2 is just it does a lot of fun things like
Mm-hmm.
collecting the dress spheres and having the dress sphere grids where you can like if you they make it so that you want to change dress spheres mid fight because the more you change your dress sphere, the more powered up you get when you connect those lines. Um, and it goes to the ATB gauge, which it's they the three of them just have this very fun, um, you know, uh, I guess not dialogue, but this fun dynamic within battles.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also a sword chicken.
Then there's also a sword. I remember we had to bring up this picture of a sword chicken.
It's the sword chicken.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, 10. See, like, that was the thing, right? So 13-2 felt like a progression of the story. Like, it just felt like this was a natural, it needed to happen. Whereas, when I jumping into 13-2, it felt like I was okay with it. It wasn't quite as of a shock to me what was happening. Whereas 10-2, I played it last summer, right? Like played 10. I freaking love that game so much, and I was just like going off about it on Twitter. I was posting pictures. I was like trying to do my own photo mode for this game. And then 10-2, I kind of I couldn't finish it. Like I couldn't even begin it, honestly. Like I started it, I got past a couple of hours, and I was just like, This is not hitting notes for me. Like, this is not doing it for me. I didn't like the battle. I didn't like. I know the battle. A lot of people love that kind of stuff. I didn't like the dress spheres stuff. I didn't like the movement around. Like, it was constantly moving. And there's trying to be ATB, and it's all moving around. I get lost on where my characters, like what's characters doing what, and it was just like from the amazing combat of 10, that conditional turn based, and the very strategic, and then the dress spheres and all this other stuff, it did not hit for me at all. Like, I dropped out of that quick. So yeah, 13-2 for me.
I like 10-2 also has a lot of very hard super bosses, and I appreciate that. I like when a game gives me very, very hard things to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Super bosses are great.
Mhm.
That now that you have intermission, dude, you get to fight Vice. Now that you can
Yeah.
play it with now that it's on PC. Oh snap! That's right. Yeah, Vice is going to give you some fun.
Okay.
But there we go, guys. That is going to conclude this podcast. Thank you so much for being in the comments and giving us things to talk about. This has been a lot of fun. I kind of want to do it more often. I loved having
hmm
you guys literally dictate how the show goes. It's really cool.
hmm
So once again, Wheel of Final Fantasy premieres February 1st at 10 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be a lot of fun. We got Austin Lee Matthews, the voice of Roach, Phil Hartshorn, and Baby Seal on the show as the contestants for the first ever Wheel of Final Fantasy. Wheel of Fortune meets Final Fantasy, and it's going to be a lot of fun, man. So there it goes. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care.
Have a great night.